The Citywide Parenting Council has recently been reinvigorated thanks to the help of a donor and the chair of the City Council Committee on Education, Tito Jackson. The organization has been advocating for parents in the Boston schools since the start of desegregation in the 1970s. We'd like to welcome as our guest from the council, the current co-chair, who's also the parent of 2 children in the school system, Kenny Jervis. Thank you very much for being with us, Kenny.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, Kenny, talk about how you went from just being another parent with children in the schools to somebody who wants to get involved in an advocacy group.
Well, it all started in 2010 when we got a letter from BPS in the Redesign Reinvest program that the Clapp Children's School was slated for closure. We as a family and a community knew that that was problematic, and we had to work to save that school. We looked at their criteria that they used for closing it and showed them why this may be true in a black and white diaphragm, but if you look at the bigger picture here are the reasons why we are at this state of, that you want to close us, but here's what we can do and give us the opportunity to change this, and we can make a difference. And they took that consideration. I had a conversation with Deval Patrick. He mentioned that we would be a great candidate for the innovation school, which he had signed into law as part of the ed reform package the previous year. And with that, we as a community gathered with the teachers union, with BPS, and wrote an innovation plan that has worked and really changed the culture of our school. And
well, what I really remember from that time, Kenny, was that this was a school that was going to close because, well, the student performance could have been better, but at the same time, there was a great story here about, in the 1970s, this would have been an improbable success story. Parents of different races wanting to send their kids there and being really engaged in the school. So what's the lesson to take from that?
The lesson is collaboration. And working together for the greater good of the community. And at that point, that community was the Roger Clapp School. And with that, and seeing during that period, seeing all the other schools that were closed, and that hurt. That hurt to see. That hurt to see the divisiveness. We got called names after, from schools that weren't as fortunate as us to save. So it became, how do we work for all those schools to show their potential and come together and show that they need the funding, they need the programs, they need a strong leader, they need within our innovation plan is the right to parents' voice. We have 5 parents on the governing board, and their voices are very much part of the decision making that goes on in the school, and that really creates a great culture. A culture of buy-in. When a counterpoint is when you see like this year the Greenwood schools up for closing. BPS turned that over to an outside operator, not the community. So you need that community buy-in. The communities are what are going to work together to save the institutions in our neighborhoods.
If you go back to the 1970s, the federal court judge, Arthur Garrity, he wanted a citywide parent council, and this was at a time when we had an elected but maybe adversarial school committee. So things have changed. I wouldn't describe the current school committee as adversarial, but there are differences in points of view here.
There are, and right now there's 4 very new members of the school committee, so it's a feeling out period, and we're going to be having a new superintendent, so there's really going to be some very important changes, and we feel that with the resurrection of the Citywide Parent Council is coming at a very opportune time where, when Tommy Chang comes to the table, we have these new school committee members, we have a reinvigorated Citywide Parent Council. We're going to be able to bring new ideas that without some of the prejudices and biases that have held us back since the decision in the 70s.
How does the CPC fit in context with the other advocacy groups today? Because there's a group for Latino parents, the NAACP's very engaged in educational policy, get mass advocates for children, special education advocates.
Yep, we are trying to fold all of them in. We have invited, and they've attended. John Mudd from Mass Advocates of Children has come to our meetings. We are leaning on these other groups. We are helping them recruit more parents. Our first meeting in September, we had about 30 parents representing about 20 schools. 5 months later, we're now at 60 members representing 40 schools and growing. We are spending a lot of time. We are leaning on BPS Office of Engagement to help us recruit. We held this weekend, we had our first spring parent conference and invited SPCs and school site councils from across the city to come and learn ways to increase their voice. And we are, like I said, using all of those groups to really help us get the word out. Let them know that we have reinstated the Citywide Parent Council and we need your involvement. We've have meetings with the NWSA, A.L. Shakura, who was on the Superintendent's Search Committee. We're working with them, and we're really hoping to combine those voices to a unified voice to really push Boston forward.
So we'll make the pitch to parents out there. What should they bring to the table to be a help here, and maybe to get some help from a group like yours?
I spoke a few weeks ago at a conference at the Boston Teachers Union, and they were asking, how do we get parents more involved? And I said, you have to be honest, and you have to tell these parents that the work we need goes beyond the bake sales, goes beyond the fundraising. We need advocates, we need lobbyists, we need marketing. All the things that work for private schools, we need to adopt that to help us promote and push for the changes that we want to see in our public schools. And we want to give parents that voice and let them know that there is some empowerment in coming to these meetings. A point that was made the other day at our parent conference is you have to make the meetings important. You have to make them engaging. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight, but we're seeing rapid progress over our first meeting in September and where we are now. We've regained 2 seats on the school committee search. I think there's many, the members are there for a while now, but the next school committee opening, we will have a say on that. And
well, we should mention if viewers, especially parents out there, want to get involved, what's the best way for them to get in touch or find more information?
We have a Twitter account, CPC/BPS. We have we have an email, Boston Citywide Parents at gmail.com, or just speaking to your individual school parent council and school site council, asking, do we have a seat on the Citywide Parent Council? If not, how do we get involved and have them get in touch with us through either BPS or find us on social media or email us.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
For the Citywide Parent Council, Kenny Jervis. We'll have sports in a moment with Pat Flaherty.